Hey, what's going on, guys? Phoenix Master 5 here, PSND and Gamertag and other gaming mediums, coming at you with Final Fantasy trading card game deck profiles. Today we are going over the Burning Ace deck that is focusing on the Blitz Ace Tidus here, fire cards, and the Light Cloud Legendary. So, without further ado, let's get to the build. Alright, let's start off with the forwards. There are 22 forwards in this deck. We'll start with 3 Tidus, the Blitz Ace Tidus. For each forward other than Tidus you control, he gains 1,000 power. So if you have another forward, he's an 8k, another makes a 9k, and so on and so forth. Excellent offensive and defensive capabilities. He also has the Blitz Ace, which is a special and 2 water. Special means if you have a Tidus in your hand, not specifically the card, but a card with the name Tidus, then you can pitch it for its effect to trigger. Until the end of the turn, Tidus gains Brave, which in magic terms is Vigilance, which simply means he does not dull or tap when he attacks. And Tidus can attack as many times as your points of damage this turn. So that just simply means if you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of damage, he can attack 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in one turn, which is absolutely insane. It turns games around, it wins games, it's a finisher, it's a win con. You need to run 3. Next, we have 3 starter Wakka. When Wakka attacks, choose one forward you control. Until the end of the turn, it gains 1,000 power for each forward you control. So what this essentially means, we'll break this down, is if you have Wakka on the board by himself, when he declares an attack, you can actually pump himself because he is the only forward. So when Wakka attacks, he can be a 9k attacker. You can also give that power to other forwards, as the ability describes. And he also has status reels, which is S, special, having a Wakka pitching from your hand, and 1 water. Choose one forward. Until the end of the turn, it loses all its abilities and power becomes 1,000. Now, you can't negate effects that are already on the stack with status reels. But you can do this as a preemptive measure. Like, before you enter battle, you want to do something to make sure that they can't do it in battle or something. Or you can use it for the second effect, which is just reducing something's power to 1,000, which is actually insane. When they try to block you, or if they go in for an attack and you want to block, you can just use this effect and make sure you win that confrontation instantly. It's pretty great. However, you don't run, I will say this now, you don't run the backup Wakka, because the backups that you do run in this deck have too much value not to run. So, the Tiduses we run for the Blitz Ace fodder is starter Tidus. The reason why I run this over the 4 cost is very simple. This is a 9k body with a 6 cost on it, which means this is huge and also gets over 4-drop Odin, which will be one of your more terrifying cards to play against in this deck. The cost to play Tidus on the field is reduced by 1 for each Final Fantasy X forward you control, which means you have a Wakka, it becomes a 5-drop. If you have starter Yuna, which we'll go over for in a second, will become like a 4-drop in conjunction with the Wakka. If you control a Yuna, the forward or the backup, Tidus gains Brave. So a 9k with Brave is pretty insane. When the forward Yuna is put from your field to the break zone, draw 2 cards. So the trick is here, so if you have this on the board, and you have your Yuna on the board, this Yuna can just kind of do whatever she wants, so long as your opponent is afraid of you drawing 2 more cards. You can party attack with it, and you can just have this thing attack on its own. You can have this thing just bravely chump block something, and you draw 2 cards from it. Pretty insane. And also, like I said, it's fodder for Blitz Ace. Then we run 3 of the starter Yuna. When you cast a summon, you may dull Yuna if it is active. If you do so, draw 1 card. This effect will trigger only once per turn. You run 12 summons in this deck. I know some of you are already going, wow, that's really bad. But you're wrong. Because this deck takes huge advantage of the summons that you run. And having Yuna in here is the added bonus to running all those summons, as well as being a combo piece, like not really a combo piece, but like a vital tool to help starter Tidus. Also, it being a 5k body for a 2-drop is pretty decent. Let's see here. Onto the fire forwards, we have 3 starter Tifa. Its water kick is absolutely insane. S, special, and 1 fire. Choose 1 forward, dull it, and deal it 6. Has an 8k body, which is already good. 8k bodies for cost 4 are pretty standard, from what I see. And it's pretty good, considering it's the 2nd highest printed power in the game right now. The water kick is insane because you don't need to tap for it, very similar to Wakka's status reels. You choose 1 forward, dull, and deal 6 damage, like I said earlier. The 6 damage is really, really significant for various decks. Gets over a lot of small dudes, gets over problem cards like 3-cost Squall or 3-cost Terra. And since you don't have to dull with it, similar to Wakka, you get a free attack in also. And even if you don't kill something with the dull and 6 it, you still dull it, which means you open up more space for you to attack with. So a cute interaction is to have both of these on the board and like one open of each color and cards in your hand, so your opponent can just like wonder and guess what you have. Make them play around you essentially. And you also play 3 Tifa of the 2 costs. It has haste. It's pretty excellent. Simply put, haste is like haste in Magic. It can attack and do stuff upon landing on the board for the first turn. It has 4k body, which is pretty expected, I guess. It's average. And it's one of the best turn 1 plays you can have. So you just turn 1, drop Tifa, attack, get a free damage in. You don't really want this thing to live for longer than a turn because you really want to get that water kick Tifa out for the longer haul. But I guess if it lives, it lives, you know. You have 3 of the Light Cloud. This is arguably the best card in the game. In my opinion, it is probably like top 3. It has Brave. Okay, this is pretty excellent. It has 2 skills. Meteor Rain. S, 1 colorless, tap it. Deal 4,000 damage to all forwards your opponent controls. That's fucking insane. Gets over things like Zidane. Gets like the small Yuffie off the board, gets Snow off the board, rather 1 cost Snow, 4 cost Lightning, 2 cost Tifa. Those are like the more notable mentions out of what it can kill just by using that skill. And then it also has Omni Slash, which is S, 3 colorless, and dull. Choose 1 forward and break it. Now, what's excellent about this is a non-discriminatory kill. So you can just pick anything and it dies. Since it does have Brave, it has a cheeky interaction in combat where you declare your attack and you pass priority to your opponent. And they can determine if they want to use a card effect, like a summon or an ability. If they pass that priority back to you, you can just do this skill, either Meteor Rain or Omni Slash, while they haven't even had a chance to declare a block yet. So the cheeky interaction is you declare attack, they pass priority, do Omni Slash, and now you killed their only thing that could have blocked, and the attack is still declared, so it still can go through. Then lastly, we run 2 of the Starter Cloud. Now you're like, why are you running the Starter Cloud, not the 2 cost? Well, let me explain. The cost, if you're required to play Cloud onto the field, is reduced by 1, similar to the Starter Tidus. So your only other target for that to help reduce it is Tifa or Tifa. Each time a forward you control attacks, it gains 1,000 power. Till the end of the turn. Not till the end of battle, not till the end of combat, whatever. So this is absolutely insane for someone like him. If you have Blitz Ace for like multiple, let's say 5 attacks. Blitz Ace, he's an 8k because you control another dude already. Attack, he's now 9k. Attack, he's now 10k. Attack for 11, attack for 12. He actually combos really, really well with Blitz Ace Tidus. So if you don't have your Light Cloud out, instead you have the Starter Cloud out, this is still a pretty good thing to have. It's a 9k body also with a 6 cost, which means it skates over that 4 cost Odin. And his Clim Hazard is still pretty decent. A fire and 1 colorless, dull, and special choose one forward, deal it 8,000 damage. 8,000 damage being the second highest printed damage in the game. You'll kill almost everything. The only thing you won't kill are like the big bosses or anything that's buffed. But I like this better than the utility that the 2-drop offers. The 2-drop just burns something for 2 damage and gains 2,000 power if you control another 7. But as we see, that's not very like important at all. We'll go into the backups. We have Cosmos. I recommend one because it's your fire or your water. So in a really cute situation that actually happens pretty fucking often, you have your Tifa on the board, you have your Wakka, and a Cosmos. You leave this thing up and these 2 on the board and like 1 or 2 cards in your hands, and your opponent's gonna wonder if you can actually respond at any time with anything. It's pretty great. It doesn't really do much aside from being that either or color. So if you wanted to take it out, you know, you definitely could. 3, Red Mage. This card's fucking busted for the deck, in any fire deck. So you play 1 fire, 1 colorless, tap it. Choose a forward, can't block this turn. Pretty excellent. This card actually just wins games if they have like 1 or 2 forwards. You just tell them they can't block, and now you just attack with everything you have. Absolutely excellent. You need to run 3, in my honest opinion. 2, Magus. I run 2 because I feel like 3 is a little too cloggy. I never need 3 in this build because there's so much like removal and burn already in the forwards and in the summons. When Magus enters the field, deal 3k to all your opponent's forwards. So it's like a lesser meteor rain from Light Cloud. This thing will kill your 1 cost Snow, your 2 cost Sedan, your 1 cost Yuffie, and anything else that I'm forgetting that's of miniature value. And puts things within trade distance, I guess. You know, puts your 7Ks in trade distance with your Tifa. Like I said, I don't want run 3 because I don't see the huge utility with it, especially if it draws into later game. You run 3, Zangan. EX Burst. When Zangan enters the field, search for Tifa, add to hand. Also, all your Tifas in this deck have haste now. Pretty good. So, you want to just like play the 1, search out your water kick Tifa, hopefully damage out the other 2. And if you don't damage out the other 2 and they're just in your hands, it's just free CP. It's like you don't have to worry about like pitching things anymore. Excellent card. Water backups. 3, Minwu. This card's the busted water card of the backups. The forwards you control don't receive damage that's less than their power. So this literally turns the game into Vanguard, where if they don't have things that are just as strong or stronger than your dudes, then it's a lost cause. I highly recommend running 3, playing this, and Okay, so playing this, resolving your Blitz Ace Tidus, along with your starter Cloud, and if you wanted to add for good measure, the Wakka. Let's say you attack, pump him, Blitz Ace, pump, and this is on the board. Nothing can fucking stop that Tidus. It's absolutely insane. That little combo has won me multiple games. Let's see here. 2, 5-drop Yuna. She has an EX, which is simply bounce a forward to the hand. When a character is put from the field into the break zone, you may remove from play instead. The top effects and the fact that it's an EX is actually excellent. It gives you more bounce potential, more pseudo removal. I guess it's pseudo removal. And the second effect is actually pretty decent because there are a small handful of cards that involve bringing things back from the break zone to hand or to the field, or even cards that trigger when they hit the break zone. So in which case this card helps put those away. Then too, if you play this too, then you can just pitch the starter unit for free CP also, like not having to worry about making tough decisions. And then lastly, and this is like my tech choice, I run 2 White Mage. When White Mage enters the field, choose a forward, activate it. Now, you could argue if you don't want to do this, you could run 2 of the Wakka, but I think this carries far more utility in the long run for everything that you run. And the point isn't to resolve status reels all the time. Does that make sense? Like, if you don't run this, like, I would rather run 2 Yagarash, which I'll show you what that does in a second. But that's my opinion. The White Mage is actually pretty excellent, though. Helps out a lot with your forward aggression. On to the summons. 3 Ifrit, 1 drop, EX, choose a forward, deal 4k damage. Pretty self-explanatory, kills most small dudes. And it's a 1 drop, which is actually excellent. You have Brynhildr, 3 cost, EX burst, choose a forward, deal 7 damage. Kills most things, not everything, but a lot of things. And then puts everything else within trade distance. We got 3 Moogle, EX burst, draw 2 cards, discard 1 card. This card's actually fucking insane. If you EX it, you automatically +1. If you cast it and then you Yuna, you automatically +1. Or would it be +2 2? I guess it depends on how much you pay to play it. But the ability to sift through your deck by 2 or 3 cards is actually excellent. And then also, if you have like this dead Cosmos in your hand, you don't plan on playing her, you can just pitch her out, or like a Light Cloud, for example, since they can't be pitched for CP. Then we have 3 Leviathan. EX burst, choose a forward, return to the owner's hands. Pretty self-explanatory. This and the 5 cost Yuna are just really used to help set back your opponent for paying for like 5, 6, 7, 8 for playing forwards. Like if they play that 8 cost Sephiroth, then you just bounce it back to hands. Yeah, sure, they got their 1 spot kill, but they also just lost 8 crystal points worth of resources, and they have to do it again if they want to, and then it's just dead in their hand. Some interesting text. If you don't like 3 Wakka, take them out, put in Cloud of Darkness and 2 Cecil. Cloud of Darkness enters a field, each player chooses 1 forward, and then everything else dies. I don't like it because the 7k body is a little too low for me. I know that's a shallow thing to say. And this is more of a panic button, which the rest of your deck has really good recovery. So you shouldn't ever be in that spot of having to hit the panic button with Cloud of Darkness, especially as a 6 cost. And if you're already at that point, you're probably in a losing spot anyways. But like I said, you've never really gonna be in that point. The Cecil summons your abilities. Your opponent must choose Cecil if possible. 8k body for cost 5 is very mediocre. I'm not a huge fan of it all. Would I just rather run something that can put in some aggressive potential? Like, I don't know how to justify not running it. All I can really say is that through my playtesting, it's never been useful. Never. Like, I can't stress it. I don't know. Like, please, like, test it and prove me wrong. Like, I guess it's all, like, opinion-based, but, like, in all my few hundred games playing with this deck, it has not served me nearly as well as, like, any of the other resources I have in this deck. The 2 Yagarash, like I said, you'd want to run this instead of 2 White Mage. Summons your abilities, your opponent must choose Yagarash if possible. Pretty good. It is the Cecil of backups, so if you really want to keep that Minwu or Red Mage on the board, then you run him. But the reason why I don't is because I realized keeping your backups aren't nearly as vital as you think. Especially if you run multiples. Then you can just like recast it and who cares. If you don't like the starter Tidus, like I said, here's your 4 cost Tidus. When he attacks all warforges you control, gain 1000 power. The only reason why I don't like it is because it doesn't offer any other utility, and it offers utility to only half your deck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather just have the Blitzace Tidus, or I'd rather just not run Tidus on the board right now. Until I do have Blitzace Tidus, or until I have starter that can be a 9k body that also skates over Odin, which this does not. My personal opinion, though. If you don't like the starter Yuna, run 3 Viking. When he enters the board, draw a card. This is your instant gratification of getting things to your hand. And you can also run multiple on the board at the same time, so you can have little chump blockers after that. I was going to say, if you don't want to run either of the Tifas, you run 2 or 3 Lan instead. Lan can't be blocked by forwards with power that's greater than his, but he also can't block dudes that are bigger than him either. I like him. I really do. It's just in my playtesting, he has never come through for me as like, oh my god, we have to run Lon. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything else does so much more for your deck than Lon does. But, I don't know. Maybe in the future we'll see some changes. Let's see. If you want to drop down that cloud, that starter cloud, to a cost 4, you could run 2 or 3 Red 13 in place of, I guess, a couple of the Tifa. Either that or remove 2 or 3 of the Ifrit. And what this does, when he enters the board, choose one forward, gives it another 3,000 power. I was running this for a little while because the power buffs seem to be pretty prevalent with the way this deck strategy goes. Not for the Cosmo memory at all, ironically. But yeah, it just, like I said in my playtesting, it's just better without it. If you don't like the Zangans, or you don't want to focus on the Tifas in general, and you've like already taken them out for other things, then you would run 3 Black Mage. Fire, dull, put it in the break zone, choose one forward, deal 4k damage. Pretty nice effect. It's a 2-drop, so it's not going to be too expensive for you to put on the board. Let's see here. If you don't care for Moogle or Leviathan, you could play 3 Fairy. 2 cost, choose a forward, activate a draw card. You don't need to choose a dull forward as a target. Just so you know, you can choose an active forward and activate it even though it's already active and draw a card. Does that make sense? You just need a target. I don't run this because netting the 0 is not worth it for me. It doesn't benefit me at all. Activating that forward only is prevalent against the Ice and Lightning matchup for the most part, in which case that's why you have White Mage to begin with. And the best way to, I guess, alleviate that is just to play smarter. I guess, I don't know how else to explain it. But just my personal opinion, I don't really like it. I would like this more if I took out the 5-cost Yuna and replaced it with the backup Yuna that's 2 cost, which says it reduces your water summons by 1. Therefore making this cost 1 similar to Moogle. You know what I'm saying? You could take out the 3 Ifrit for 3 Garlands if you want more forwards, since it's a light 22 forwards and 12 back summons. You reduce it to 9 summons and 25 forwards by doing this. Brave doesn't dull when it attacks. When it attacks, it gains 4k, so it's a 12k attacker. Pretty cool. Just in my play testing, it's never pulled through for me as like a win condition. It's never pulled through for me as a huge threat either. So that's just why I personally don't run it. But this section is just mostly to get the juices flowing in case you want to do other stuff. If you don't like the way one of these picks are made. You could also run 3 Ject instead of the Garlands. For each forward your opponent controls, he gains 1,000 power. So he's almost consistently always 9k or above. The ultimate Ject shot is an identical cost to Omni/Cloud, except 1 fire instead of 3 colorless. And then 2 colorless. And dull. Choose a forward, break it. I would run him almost without a shot of a doubt if there was another Ject to play. But because there isn't another Ject, I can't justify playing him. Does that make sense? And also he's a 5 cost, which is a little rough. Like, if you noticed, most of the forwards are 2s, 4s, and like the starters are the only ones that are above 4 cost. And that the reason for that is so you can have that consistent recovery. You could also run 3 Furion instead of 3 Ifrit. 1 Furion enters the field, choose a forward, deal 4k. So it does exactly what Ifrit does, plus it gives you an 8k body. The only reason why I don't run it, it doesn't have EX, which means you can't get that 4k if it damages out, which might seem silly, but it's actually really, really important. And then the 4k 4 cost for an 8k body that doesn't do anything else aside from burn for the 4k bothers me. Like, when you're playing Sophie's Choice and then deciding what you want to discard for CP in order to play something, you don't want this to ever really tempt you to not do it. You know what I'm saying? To not play something else that's just better. Everything else in the forward lineup that you run is just better. having a 1-drop EX that does the exact same thing that Furion does is just better. So, I don't know if I could stress that in any other way, but that's just, like I said, these are all my opinions. Overall, this deck is really fun. This deck has been very, very consistent. Very, very, very good at recovery. So, go ahead and give it a test, see if you like it, see what things you would do differently. Like I said, I gave you that whole list of things that you could try out differently for various pieces and parts to get a deck that fits your playstyle the best. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on the deck. If you want to see brews of other elements, let me know in the comment section. I have my friends who also is going to be making deck profiles with me on this channel. Shout out to 6 Sages Gaming. Oh, also shout out to Kayla Craning for giving me one of these foil Moogles. So I figured I'd give you a shout out because I said I'd give shout outs to people who gave me free foils. Let's see, I think that is it. So until next time, guys, you have a good one. Take care.